Happy holidays for victims and villains. My name is Josh, and today we are jumping into the stocking stuffer that is Merry Little Batman. In the spirit of Home Alone, Batman is called off to business, and in an effort to keep Gotham safe, again, a la Home Alone, Damian Wayne steps into the footsteps of Batman and faces off against some of Batman's biggest rogues gallery. Merry Little Batman definitely takes pages out of familiar stories like Home Alone and Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but puts them through the lens of the more whimsical side of Gotham City. And I think the animation style is very reflective of that whimsical nature, looking at this film and kind of specifically how villains and Batman and Alfred and Damian and how this world is interpreted through the 2D animation, which in and of itself is already nostalgic because we don't see too many projects like this nowadays in the age of 3D art. But it feels very reminiscent, that animation style, of Cartoon Network cult classic Chowder and even the short-lived Nickelodeon show Sanjay and Craig. There's an exaggerated yet rough nature to it, but it looks really crisp through it, the bright and vibrant colors of this world, especially set at Christmas. Just to kind of give an example of the exaggerated nature of this, there's an example where a police officer comes into Jim Gordon's office. Jim Gordon is making a gingerbread house. They're like, Gotham's on fire. And he's like, I've handled this before, and literally looks out and every surface is red, orange, and just illuminating flames. And it's just like kind of the exaggerated nature of this entire world. And I think that really works because not only does it lean into the vibrancy of the visuals, but also at the same time it also leans into the comedy aspect of it, which this film does really well. Even without talking about the visual and almost physical comedy nature of the sets and the backgrounds, this movie just does comedy really well, and it's a refreshing reminder that Batman doesn't always have to be dark and moody, but can be really whimsical and fun and for the entire family. And I think this film's a perfect example of that. I think the writing in this movie is really top tier, and it's never a dull moment here. I think this movie definitely stands alongside some of the stronger Batman movies that we've gotten over the years. Definitely, maybe wouldn't put it as far up as Mask of the Phantasm, but definitely has a place along like other cult classics like Teen Titans Go to the movies. I really found this movie refreshing in terms as a Batman fan, because sometimes when you have a character that's been around for as long as Bats has, you get a lot of repeats on the stories. Maybe you just take out different villains, put in different things, or you spin the same storyline with different characters. And this was a really refreshing spin on the Batman mythos. Normally Bruce Wayne is preparing these wards, and even Damian, his own son, to take up the mantle of Robin literally their entire lives. And what I found refreshing about this one is that it was kind of reversed, where Batman didn't want Damian in this, but rather at the same time wanted him to be a kid. And that's just one example that I thought was so well done in this movie and really kind of kept me on my toes. Not only that, but it really adds to the lighthearted nature of the film and the relationship between Bruce and Damian. Damian Wayne has never been one of my favorite Robins. I've always been a Dick Grayson guy, but I really think that this is probably the best Damian Wayne story I've experienced thus far. And don't get me wrong, I've liked in the past to kind of see his evolution, but sometimes that evolution takes years, where this is a bite-sized evolution, character development that you can experience in under 90 minutes, and the character development on this movie, top tier. And speaking of top tier, the voice cast in this is no exception. They are outstanding, from Luke Wilson to Giannis Khabib to James Cromwell. All across, I had a blast with these voice, especially the very short-lived cameo of Mr. Freeze in this that I'm not going to spoil, but he was probably my favorite part of this movie. Overall, I just really had a blast with this film, and I'm ready to run this through the Rorschach rating scale. Christmas is coming early with Merry Little Batman. This is easily a 4 out of 5. I think this is not only the makings of a possible Christmas tradition for some Bat fans, especially parents who are Batman fans that are eager to show a new version of the Cape Crusader to their kids or nieces or nephews. This is the perfect start for that. This movie is hilarious, it's heartfelt, the animation is gorgeous, vibrant, and just all around, this was just such a fun time. It's lighthearted, and it's not every day that you get a lighthearted Batman. Look last year to The Batman with Robert Pattinson. Not to say that that's a bad movie, but it's a great example where it's a very brooding, very serious, very dark. And this one is very lighthearted, very whimsical. I absolutely loved it. And you guys can check it out for yourselves when it hits Amazon Prime beginning December 8th. Now let's talk about mental health. If you guys are new to our content, Mental Health Moment is where we'll take a theme of mental health out of the film which we're talking about, talk about it for a few moments in the hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. Traditionally, Batman is a character that is often known to be brooding, very dark, very moody. Whether you're reading him in the comics, you're watching him in a live action, or an animated movie like Merry Little Batman. And there's a moment in this movie where they actually poke fun at that, and Bruce actually has to stop himself in Batman and says, remember what your therapist says about brooding. And honestly, sometimes, especially in today's society, it's really hard to find joy, or at least it can feel really hard to find joy. But it's worth the search to find happiness, to find joy, whether that is something that you are pursuing artistically, whether that is something that you are just treating yourself to, like a coffee or something sweet, even a trip to the movies. Probably one of the best quotes that I've ever seen in any television show and has garnered true life advice from me personally is a scene in one of the early episodes of Twin Peaks where Dale Cooper says, treat yourself once a day. Don't plan for it. Don't account for it. Just let it happen naturally. So that's my advice to you today, is to find joy and to treat yourself and understand that you have value and that you have worth, because when you treat yourself like you think you should be treated, it actually changes the way that you view yourself, as does having joy and happiness more profoundly in your life. So don't wait till Christmas to unwrap something that makes you happy, whether that, again, is pursuing something artistically, injecting a content that you love, whether that be video games, anime, movies, music, etc. Find something that just makes you happy and just allow it in your life each and every day. So if you or someone you know is struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, links are in the show notes below for our mental health resource library. In the show notes below, you guys will also find links to our, not only subscribe here on YouTube, but also links to all of our podcasts, more movie reviews like this, links to our socials, Patreon, and more. So until next time, remember to stay classy, and if you don't watch anything else on this video, hope you guys have a happy holiday season.